So we have received, of course, the certified values and then the new calculations of the tax rate. We'll share our screen here. This updated spreadsheet is, of course, on the budget workshop drive today, unfortunately. But that one is just one that's there. We've had questions, and we can always adjust as more information comes in.
Good.
The other ones that we'll need to come back to in this department are the MHMR contracts. Of course, those will come in for your review in this next month. The animal birth control clinic. So they increased their ask this year to that $125,000. You had questions about what the city was contributing to ABC. And so what we have found out, they currently and have for some years now, their budget is $166,000. Theirs is a little bit different than ours. So what's happening there is they budget, and then they have an agreement with, of course, with ABC, and they're being billed per instance per surgery and microchip. And so theirs, they've budgeted 166 for a while, but from what I gathered, it's just a flat rate that has been sufficient to cover the amount that's billed to them monthly. So they have not adjusted that for a while, but it's, again, just based on how many instances they are actually billing for.
So that's a little different than our arrangement where we're just giving them flat money to do whatever they.
To cover the areas outside outside the incorporated cities, yes, sir. So with the 125,000, it's just down at the bottom of perfect. That section there. She says that to reach the areas in need, this would cover over 1,500 animals. They would receive spay, neuter, and microchip, and that the 19,000, the past funding level, is exhausted within 3 months usually. Economic Development Department. The Sports Commission asked for an increase in funding of $30,000, so this would increase to $130,000 from our previous $100,000. You had asked about the city of Waco and what they had funded and what they planned on funding. They have always contributed $75,000, and of course their budget is not adopted yet either, but the plan is that they would continue the $75,000 level of funding into next year. Stay on our timeline. Those letters need to go out from the judge's office today. So I just wanted to just come back here and just make sure that we all knew what those ending numbers look like. Everyone has received a COLA on this list. So the right side is just what our fiscal year 22 elected official salaries look like. Some of the judges are, the COLA doesn't apply to them because those numbers are set a different way. But the ones that are highlighted in yellow, those were the amounts that Anna spoke on and recommended moving those up to a certain level. And then, of course, the COLA is added on top of that. So I just wanted to just make sure that we were all still, agreeable to those amounts, just because those letters do need to go out today. And we hadn't really
The
looked at.
adjustments came in the highlighted yellow,
Yes, sir.
and that was due to the fact that they were out of our criterion.
Yes. So you brought those up.
Between now and the final adoption, which is August the 24th, we will come back and talk about the disposition of any of the funds that are over and above the policy of our unassigned fund balance policy of 33%, and how we, if we choose to apply any of those towards things. And one of the, one item was on our retirement debt. It looks like there's about a little over $90,000. For every $1 million we pay down on that debt, there's a little over 90,000 and some change.
Correct. So
Savings that goes up over time if salaries are adjusted up.
That's correct. So yeah, those paying in $1 million or whatever the amount may be is going to affect of course, you're going to be out that cash for the year to pay down that debt, but then it's going to affect your retirement rate also.
Right.
So.
And the cash position that we're in because of the rate environment.
So we have received, of course, the certified values and then the new calculations of the.
Day is day is Friday, November the 12th, 2021, 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, November 5th, 2021 at 4:15 PM.
All right, thank you. All right, going to items. B1 is authorization of order approving canvassing for the November 2nd, 2021 joint general election. Call on Jared Smith, and Jared, we will, after you make your statement, and then we're gonna open for public comment.
Is there anything right here?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, we just need to canvass the election results for this past November 2nd, 2021 election. The state has asked us to do this, so does everybody have the results, a copy of the results? Okay. Any questions? Nope.
I only have one.
Sure.
Statutorily, are we required to certify election results for municipalities, even though they're required by law to do it themselves?
Right, not for municipalities, only for anything that goes to the
Okay,
state.
well, I noticed we had a listing of all of them. so-
Yeah, I just went ahead and gave everybody
Oh, okay.
everything.
Okay,
so.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions from the court, Jared, if you could step back over there.
Thank you.
Mr. Gates, you'd like to come up.
My name is Scott Gates. I'm here about the posted agenda item. The first question that I have is authorization to order approving the canvass for the November 2nd, 2021 joint general election. So if you have an agenda item to approve the canvass, when did the canvass take place?
It has not yet.
It hasn't. Is it going to take place today? Is it anticipated to take place today?
We're going to be canvassing these results to send to the state.
At this meeting?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Then, Judge, there's a problem. You're going to canvass the election, but it's not on the agenda to canvass the election. It's only on the agenda to approve the canvass.
So they're certifying the county returns as canvassed by the Commissioners Court and we're going to deliver those returns to the Secretary of State later today.
Okay. It's probably going to be minor in there. So you're going to certify an election where voters were disenfranchised. Everyone should be aware that voters were disenfranchised. And the question begs the question, how many people were disenfranchised? Because it's kind of important. And the other problem is on this election, the problem when it was brought to the attention that voters were disenfranchised, it was fixed. And actually, that concerns me quite a bit more than that voters were disenfranchised if you can fix an election. But you're going to vote to certify an election that you know voters were disenfranchised without answering those questions. I think that it's wholly appropriate at this canvassing or this meeting to answer those questions. How many people were disenfranchised? And how do you fix an election to prevent people from being disenfranchised in the middle of an election, one day before the end of early voting? So early voting had gone on for some time. So you're going to vote, which means you're going to own this. So if there's some question about whether or not they were disenfranchised, I'll be happy to answer those because I was one of the people who was disenfranchised. In an election that was decided by 16 votes. So it doesn't take much of a screw up to affect the outcome of that election. So I'm not going to get the answer for how many people were disenfranchised. I'm not going to get an answer on how it was fixed and how that affected the election, which is what I expected. But it's going to make a heck of a historical record. They say that you get the government that you deserve. I deserve better than this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know that we can't comment on public comments.
Well, in this one, you could.
an agenda item.
Yeah.
Yes, agenda
Okay.
item, you can.
My question would be, because I'm totally lost on everything that Mr. Gates is saying, is it any way we could get a memo or get an understanding of exactly what it is that he's bringing before the court?
There's let me ask this question. Besides Mr. Gates, and now Dustin's online as well, Dustin Chapman, County Administrator. Did we receive other complaints of anyone being disenfranchised?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
Dustin, are you aware of any?
No, sir.
And this was in the local election?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And did you say that we're not canvassing those? This is.
Right, the city of Moody will canvass its election. So that's
we're-
the one that he's concerned with.
So you mentioned that you gave these results out for information purposes only. The only thing we're here to canvass was the constitutional election.
Correct, that is correct.
Jared, do you want to explain what happened in the situation that Mr. Gates is talking about?
So on October 28th, Mr. Gates came down to the records building to vote early. He cast his ballot, and then he came into our office. When he came into our office, he let me know that he did not have the ballot for the city of Moody. Okay? So we looked it up to see if he was supposed to be within the city of Moody, and he was. And however, it was not encoded that way. I asked him, first of all, I apologize that he did not receive that. I did ask him if he had cast his ballot, and he had. And at that point, we cannot retrieve a ballot. Okay? So once a ballot's cast, of course, we cannot retrieve it. It is a secret ballot. Doing further investigation, while I can't pinpoint exactly when or where the error occurred, it does look like his street was annexed within the last 2 years, and that information did not make it back to the elections office.
And that was the duty of the municipality to provide that?
Correct. So, and looking back on any records, I could not find where we had county records within our mapping department up until this August where there was, his street was included within the city of Moody. So, it was an accident. It was not done on purpose. We did correct the situation within 30 minutes as soon as we were notified. If Mr. Gates had let us know or let an election official know that there had been an error before casting his ballot, we could have corrected it at that point. So it's not a big deal to correct that issue once we find the issue and can find proof that he should have been able to vote. Any questions?
So when a municipality annexes an area, they're required to report that to you,
They're required to report it to the county.
to the county?
Yes. Now, I have gone out and I've asked each of the cities and school districts, as well as other special utility districts within the county, since this incident has occurred, to please email me personally, along with a couple other emails that are associated with the elections office, to make sure that we receive direct communication from the cities or districts that there has been a change within their district so that we can make sure that those changes are made in our voter registration database.
And the statute should outline for each city to know exactly what to do once they annex additional
Right.
property, or,
Right. Now, I don't know exactly what that statute is, but yes.
but they should know. It's
Yes.
not our job.
Exactly. Yeah. It's we can't read their minds, so it needs to be something that they let us know.
So knowing these two streets that were annexed, you have no way of knowing how many people from those two streets voted?
We could find out.
Just voted?
Yeah, we could find out. So,
But can you find out if they voted early or at the election or
Yeah,
on
I
the
could-
date that they voted?
yeah, I could find that
So
out.
that would theoretically pinpoint how many other people may have been
Yeah.
disenfranchised.
Yes.
Okay. But
Do we
that's,
know how many residents are on these two streets?
that's what,
You know, yeah, and I don't know how many registered
Gates.
voters are. Yeah.
But, Mr.
There's
Gates,
60 that were a party to the lawsuit that was involved in that annexation. So there were 60 people, 60 parties to the lawsuit.
okay, so
about six, we don't know that they all voted before. or-
Right.
Yeah,
several could have been in the same house, but still,
Yeah.
there's,
Well, and that I don't know if they're all registered to vote either.
right, right.
So,
I know the areas, I think that you're
So-
talking about now.
Acknowledging that, and the frustration level is warranted, there is no doubt about that. His recourse right now should be with the city since they're gonna canvass that election.
correct.
They're gonna certify.
We're
the
not
results.
canvassing that election today. We're just,
Correct.
Okay. Still pretty interesting.
So
Yeah.
we're canvassing the constitutional amendment.
Correct. Correct.
Because there
Because that's what I'm going to send to the
There
state
weren't
later
any
today.
county-
That's
yeah,
what
there
we
weren't any county
Yes.
offices.
I'm sorry.
There weren't any county offices.
No.
For election, so just the constitutional, the
Correct.
referendum.
state constitution.
Correct.
That's the packet that we're gonna send to the state.
Exactly.
Do
Yes.
you know off the top of your head, I was trying to look, I didn't think I'd need it, or I'd have brought, but off the top of your head, do you know how many ballots were cast in that Moody election?
Yeah. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up.
Okay.
There was 226 ballots that actually voted, and there was 80 undervotes included in that. So now that's 226. Now you can vote for 3. So I'd have to look at the numbers off the top of my head, but it would be less than 200.
Okay.
Because that's an at-large election. and they-
Correct. Yeah, there was 3 candidates up for election in that city council position.
Three open spots.
Yeah, so it was a vote for 3
Okay.
contest.
But 6 candidates.
Six.
Yeah,
total.
there were 6 total candidates. That's
Highly
correct.
contested.
What did you say about
They
contested?
were-
Highly contested.
They were
All,
pretty
all
close.
6 races?
There were 3 or 4 that
There
were
were
very,
3 positions and 6 candidates.
I got you.
and there were some, they were pretty close, some of the
Yeah,
votes.
the top 3 vote getters, one had 53 votes, one had 46 votes, one had 66 votes. The 3 that did not win, one had 30 votes, one had 4 votes, one had 27 votes.
Wasn't close.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like a 1 or 2 vote kind of thing.
Okay,
Okay, anything else?
no, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
With all due respect, that assumes that the only problem that you have are the ones that I know of, that you know about.
yeah, the city has that problem.
I hope it's just the city.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I would say that, considering what we're discussing right now, that there should be an effort made just to reach out and make sure that municipalities do understand
Absolutely, and that's what
their
I'm-
responsibility in this, because he's got a valid point of, we need to ensure that every election, we reach out and make sure in a timely manner before, that they know they've got to report these.
Yeah, and like I said, I did send that out, that communication out, earlier this week. I have received a few responses from cities and schools. It's not something that happens all that often. I did, try to stress that we want to make sure that our voter rolls are clean. We don't want anybody to, not be able to vote in an election. And if they don't, communicate that information to us, then it could result in an instance that Mr. Gates unfortunately experienced.
Am I right that had we had countywide offices up for election, this really wouldn't have affected, because they would have been on the roll and could have voted as residents of the county
Exactly, and he was able to participate in the Texas Constitution.
in the constitutional elections, okay?
Exactly.
So it's strictly the municipality election that
Yes, sir.
had the snafu,
Yes, sir. And like I said, he did get to vote in the Texas
the
Constitution.
constitutional election, sure,
Yes.
okay.
I guess my,
In 2019, I cast a provisional ballot because we were already annexed cast a provisional ballot in 2019 for the city council race. That provisional ballot in 2019, 2 years ago, was rejected.
Correct. Because part of the reason it was rejected is when Moody annexed your street, it was too late to participate in the election, and there is a part of the Texas election code does talk about that. You would have to have been annexed 3 months prior to the election for you to participate in that election. We did communicate with other departments to see if your vote should have counted in that election. And at that time, we did not have record that you were within the city of Moody city limits, which is why it did not count.
I'm gonna tell you what kind of gives me an anxious feeling.
Sure.
Is that in canvassing, we're supposed to make sure that every vote cast was counted.
Of course.
In that vein, people are voting should get their correct ballot.
Of course.
It should be,
Agreed.
so it is true that as far as the state, he received what should have been on his ballot, but it seems that
Yes.
what was close to his heart was his local election.
Sure.
And when it came to his local election, he did not get the correct ballot, so he
Right.
could not cast his vote in that election.
He was disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, definitely.
So, kind of the broad swipe that I pick up when I listen to Commissioner Perry is it our system then, when cities annex portions of their area, that we count on cities, and going forward, maybe, is there a better method? Because it's up to you to purge people off of those rolls, which means that what we're telling people is you no longer live in this voting precinct. And so we're cleaning up, and you did use that phrase, cleaning. But if in our cleaning process, we don't have correct information, and I say that because it's not being brought into you, is there a better system for us to ensure that we have all of the information, irregardless of what cities do?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that what Commissioner Perry mentioned earlier, we can try to go forward and make sure that we're doing more communication with our cities and schools and the other districts here in the county to make sure that we have received all the communication on any changes to districts or city limit boundaries.
And I don't say that to say you're not doing enough work.
Right.
Perhaps.
No,
I
I
remember a time when Kathy partnered with the mapping department, because mapping gets every change that's coming through there.
Yeah.
And I would think, especially as we come up on 2022, we're going to have to make sure that all of our precincts are right, all of our boundaries are correct, or this is going to be on steroids.
Well, it was, absolutely. We actually did communicate with mapping on this. Now, I'm not gonna blame mapping for this issue. I don't know exactly where the breakdown of communication happened. They did not have this information on file whenever because we looked it up during his provisional vote, and we were doing some updates to districts this summer, actually, in the Moody area. There's a water district that needed to be added to our voter rolls. And we received a map from that mapping department that included the city of Moody on that map, and his street was not on that map as being in the city of Moody. Otherwise, we would have updated it at that point. Once again, I'm not blaming mapping. They may have not received that communication.
So we
I talked to
don't,
the city of Moody about this. They have a new city manager out there who was not the city manager whenever the annexation took place. He was aware that the annexation had took place, however, he wasn't exactly sure what date that annexation took place. And I asked him if he had any communication between the city and the county. He did not have any communication to give me at the time. Now, he may have found some by this point, but he has not sent that to me.
but I trust in hearing you talk and explain this to us, we need to research where the breakdown occurred.
I agree, absolutely.
Because again,
I agree. So,
he's lived there for how many years?
yeah.
Maybe in or out a little bit, but he is a lifelong resident in that area and didn't get to vote.
I agree.
That,
When did the annexation take place?
It was annexed in October 2019.
2 years,
The documents I
a little over
found-
2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the documents I found, it was dated November 1st, 2019, so I'm sure it took place in October.
Well, I'll say this, and, you know, obviously this, it's not right when somebody doesn't get to vote, period. But I know there's 17 public school districts in McLennan County. And I don't know how many municipalities and water districts there are. And there's only one of us. It's incumbent upon them to relay that information. I mean, yes, we've got to reach out to them and make them aware of it, but we're only as good as the information we get from them.
Agreed,
And they've got, those people, those voting areas have got to give us good information.
agreed. Hey, last thing I want is anybody to not be able to vote.
Yeah.
I hate this
You know,
one.
we understand that. I mean, I get that. And I'm just saying that he is here and he has been wronged. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter at this point in time, quite honestly, it does matter how it happened. We can't do anything to change the fact that he's,
Yeah. it's
but we've
unfortunate.
got to be, his point being, don't let this happen again.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying it's our fault, but it darn sure doesn't hurt us to be the aggressor in the future of saying, hey, you've got to report these annexations. They've got to be in within 90 days of the election or they don't count.
Right.
This is just,
It's
I share
unfortunate.
your frustration because that's,
It's unfortunate.
The other area would be sure that there's, and I have no reason to think that mapping got the information, didn't share it, but as a policy, when mapping gets a change, it needs to immediately,
I agree. And when I spoke with the mapping department, they said they share, that is their policy, to share it with us.
that's what I thought, yes.
So, you know, and for some reason, I don't know why, but it's did not make it to us.
Okay.
You got a tough job. I know there's no intent, but it's just that the results can be so egregious.
I understand.
If it were just a matter of lost communication, then we say, oh, we gotta communicate better.
Agreed.
But when the consequence is so weighty, especially as we're moving into a voting bill that's telling us to purge people, and if you don't purge, then there's a penalty on you. If there are so many things in place when it comes to people voting, the last thing we need is for people not to be able to get their correct ballot and for our boundaries not to be right, because there's so many things that are saying, hey, you need to do this to your rolls, you need to do this to your rolls. But if our rolls are not right, then we place ourselves in a situation. That's because these cities contract with us. It would be different if Moody was just out there having their thing, but they contracted with us to run their election. I understand they are gonna canvass, but they counted on us to make sure we ran their election right.
Agreed.
is there, can we put this in the contract with every municipality and put this particular, law? And that way, when they sign the contract with us, they know it's on them, that if they have not reported this.
Oh, in the
you're-
contract.
Right, you're just.
Because there is a statute that says it need to, what they do with it once they do the annexation. But I agree, that's a good point, with those, contracts that you issue out.
Yeah, I can certainly take a look and see how we can add something like that in there to like, something along the lines of, you know, the city agrees that they need to, or that they have communicated any boundary changes.
Prior to 90 days.
Furnish good information and good roles,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can,
I think legal could probably make it sound correct.
Yeah,
Ultimately, it is up to the city to fix this issue, not the commissioner's court, but the city has to fix it, because they're the ones that sent me the tax bill.
Right.
And
Yep.
Now you have an issue of taxation without representation.
Yep.
But only the city of Moody can fix it, and whenever they canvass their votes, that'll be addressed.
Okay.
So they have not done that as of yet, is what you're saying?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out, because there are things that we might do with policy-wise to make sure this doesn't happen again, and with our contract would be the best way to do it, and we'll check on, well, you already said that the mapping has already said that it's policy to,
yes.
How many municipalities are special district, school district run their own elections? Do you know? Just out of curiosity?
How many run their own election?
Yeah, without contracting with us.
That's a good question.
I know I know there's some that do it.
Give me a second, I can tell you
A
how
lot of them do
many
it when they
run
do it in
May.
May, when they have May elections rather than November elections.
Yeah.
A lot of them do it themselves at the May
Because,
election.
okay.
Yeah, during
No, You
November-
don't have to do that right now, Jared. Don't worry about it. I was just curious.
Sure. In November, they all contract with us.
Okay.
And that's because we have several countywide elections.
Right.
They have the option in May to run their own election. Most of them are starting to contract with us
Right.
at this point.
Right.
So there's a handful still that do run their own election.
Okay, okay. They run their own, they pretty much either have to rent machines or do it by
Yeah,
paper,
they
paper
rent
ballot.
machines. We do give them a little bit of information, but yeah, and we'll program the machines for them.
Okay.
But they still get, they don't have our laptops that have the voter roll on it like we do during a contractor election, countywide election. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then, just to affirm what we're doing here in a moment, I'll make a motion, but it's only to canvass. So everybody understands, we're not canvassing City of Moody.
That's correct.
It's the constitutional election, it'll be part of that. And I do offer you, although it is of no use to you now, is an apology for being disenfranchised, and I hate that happened to you.
Well, the suggestion to add that to the contract, because basically what you have is an injury and there's a remedy for it. And if that was in the contract, that would be a pretty thick hammer to address that remedy.
So anyhow, I just extend I hate that happened to you. With that being said, I'd make a motion at this time that we approve the canvass of the constitutional election from this past November.
Second,
Second,
You got it.
2021.
second.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, call for a vote.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Felton,
Aye,
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
pass. All right, is there anything else to come before the court today? If not, we stand adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all made some major changes since the last time I.